picture-perfect evening for one of the region's best rivalries. You're watching the CHSAA on News 12 Varsity as the attention of Long Island, the tri-state, and even the nation is on this game between two of the best teams in the entire country. This is the Hospital for Special Surgery Game of the Week, and this is the AAA Championship between the Flyers of Chaminade and the Friars of St. Anthony's here on News 12 Varsity. Amanda Puglisi to join in a moment. I'm David Resnick, and an entire season comes down to this championship game. St. Anthony's and Chaminade enter a combined 26-2 on the season, and both ranked top 10 nationally, top 3 if you consider just the Northeast. And both teams have put together an impressive season. That was the regular year. Their playoffs is just a single game. That is tonight. For Chaminade, key players, if we think about their 6-goal victory back in April, Riley Gray led the way with 4 goals, and Liam Enteman made 16 saves. Both are seniors going to Notre Dame. Meanwhile, for St. Anthony's, dropping that regular season game, Brennan O'Neill was held to just 2 points. The #1 recruit in the class of 2020 needs to step up his game. Meanwhile, on the defensive side, Greg Campese, the illustrious varsity career in both football and lacrosse, ends tonight before he heads off to Harvard this fall. Chaminade, St. Anthony's. Not more needs to be said, but tonight, a championship is on the line in our HSS Game of the Week here on News 12 Varsity. Back here at St. Anthony's for the AAA Championship. We talked offense and defense. Here's Amanda Puglisi with another important factor in tonight's game.
David, both coaches were telling us earlier this week how important the face-off battle is going to be. And of course, Chaminade has that two-headed monster of James Ball and Tyler Sandoval. Sandoval is going to start the game at the face-off X. Ball is actually a little banged up from the Del Barton game. Of course, Jack Moran says we are going to see him a little bit, but he's going to be monitoring that situation. And Keith Weiserick says everything for his team on face-off is going to fall on Jack Nassos. He says if we can go 40%, we'll be good. Jake Nasso, sorry about that. If Jake Nasso can go 40%, we'll be good. Anything less, though, it's going to be a little tough, David.
Well, back in the first matchup, Chaminade won 13 of 23, good for 57% as part of that victory for the Flyers at home. They win the opening face-off and take the first possession of the game. 12-1 on the season. They won a regular season title, winning all 3 of their games in league. They're coming off of a 12-9 defeat on the road in New Jersey this past Saturday against Del Barton, a team that St. Anthony's beat early in the season. Here's James Corcoran, part of the first midfield line out there with Riley Gray and Kevin Lynch. This is Gray missing wide and backed out by Tom Rogan. And part of the keys for Chaminade is getting off to a fast start. They fell behind 6-1 to Del Barton as part of that loss. Build transition. Can they get from defense to offense? And Flying V, what's a game without a Mighty Ducks reference in terms of their strength and numbers and depth? 9 different players registered a point in their victory back in April. St. Anthony's coming up with a loose ball, but a strong ride by the Flyers, and then a loose ball push against the visitors. There was Jaden Jernigan coming up with the ground ball, the call in favor of the Friars, and Greg Campese has it over midfield and giving way to Aiden Denenza as we think of the keys for St. Anthony's face-off game. Can they win 40%? can they play 48 minutes? Keith Weiserick, their longtime head coach, does not believe they played a complete game yet. And he also believes that in championship matchups like tonight, there's a second tier or role player that will make the difference. Can that come from the second midfield line? Will that come from a fourth attackman? We shall see over the 48 minutes tonight. On the run, it's a low shot that hits off the side of the net by Andrew McAdory, and it's scooped up by Liam Entenmann, who comes out of his circle for the outlet. So the Friars fans in attendance thought that their home squad had taken a 1-0 lead. Instead, Chaminade successfully clears and can set up their second offensive possession. Roy Meyer, the Pole, still out there offensively, but will now trot off. Attack unit of Tom Rogan, Kevin Pimental, Kevin Cutton. And a run here for the second midfield line of John Davino, Mike O'Connell, and James Ball. That's Davino on the run, missing the target there. Tall right-handed Dodger, a junior. Already committed to playing his college lacrosse at Army. And this is Mike O'Connell, a Maryland commit. Pushing down the left edge, goes to his right hand and overpowers the inside of the defense for Chaminade to take the 1-0 lead. The individual effort for Mike O'Connell off the restart. And the left alley dodge against the short stick, working back to his strong side. And a check came from Anthony Levy. And yet O'Connell, the three-sport star for Chaminade, muscles his way through for a 1-0 start. Tyler Sandoval won the first faceoff out there against Jake Naso. And Chaminade is 2 for 2 to begin. Opportunity for the Flyers to play make it, take it. Flyers last year, along with St. Anthony's, part of the Double-A division last year. And a Chaminade victory over St. Anthony's in the Long Island Championship. 9 days after that in the intersectional final. And Chaminade went on to win the state championship as well. A low to high riser is off target. A look there at Alex Pazienza, 2-year starter as a junior. Took over the job in full as a 10th grader a season ago. Second midfield line, Davino going down to a knee. He skips one wide of the frame. And Chaminade once again in possession, or in position rather, to retain possession. Pimental from X across the crease, and a quick stick dump in. Tom Rogan on the receiving end of a beautiful dodge and feed for a 2-0 Chaminade start. Again, Chaminade starting, or scoring rather, off of a restart. Pimental across the crease, Rogan wide open on the backside. And for a team that has struggled all season long to start with strength, has taken a 2-0 lead 4 minutes in. And Tyler Sandoval is a perfect 3 for 3. Face-off win for the Flyers. Sean Tarici off the wing, having a little bit of trouble entering the box. He finds support from this first midfield line in the form of Michael Lynch. His brother Kevin was a defensive midfielder on last year's state championship squad. A family and brotherly feel for the 2019 edition of the Flyers. Right alley dodge. Here's Lynch. Throws it to the middle. It's picked up by Rogan, and that's some high heat. 3-zip Flyers. Fortuitous bounce for the Flyers. The pass by Lynch was over the head of Chris Kavanaugh, and Tom Rogan on the far side of the field scores consecutive goals. Less than 5 minutes in, 3-0 Chaminade. Jack Moran lamented how his team has struggled off the bus. A win here for Jake Naso, charging in. St. Anthony's has the answer. A face-off win and a charge right down Broadway. Friars on the board. Just 6 seconds to answer. Eyeing the goal the entire way, and Naso beating Entenmann for the tally. First face-off win for St. Anthony's immediately results in a goal. And right back to the dot. James Ball has taken the spot of Sandoval, and it's Ball racing down, looking for a quick tally. A 4-1 advantage for Chaminade at the face-off X, and Jack Moran now in his 41st season leading Chaminade. Most active wins in New York State. Said if I could figure out why we start so slowly, he'd be a millionaire. He'd write it in a book. He'd sell it. Maybe since our conversation on Monday, he has figured out what has plagued his team early. They're up 3-1, looking for more, and a terrific stop by Pazienza, hugging the post in perfect position. Strong ride there by Chris Kavanaugh after the stop. Friars transition. Here's Denenza. Catching it on the run. Denenza is denied. What a stop by Entenmann. And it's picked up by Jake Bonomi for St. Anthony's, and they hold on to possession. But behind the play, an offsides called. Michael Lynch runs through a hold and a flag is down. If Chaminade does not score, they'll get a 30-second extra man. So a free possession here for the Flyers. James Corcoran jogging far side of the field, looking to invert against the defensive midfielder William Gordon. Chaminade up by 2. Penalty coming their way. 5:20 remaining. A look in front for Rogan is blocked down. Corcoran was on top of it, and as it's scooped up by Pazienza, here comes the man-up unit for Chaminade. It is a hold against Johnny Rebuth, getting the start today, the sophomore, because of injuries to the starting attack for St. Anthony's. 5 minutes to go, first quarter. Chaminade scored the first 3 goals. St. Anthony's has the last tally, first EMO of the game. This is Lynch and now Corcoran. On the high crease, it goes straight through O'Connell, and the keeper picks it up as the penalty expires, and we're back to even lacrosse. Tossed to midfield, a dangerous pass, picked up by Jack Walsh. Unsettled for St. Anthony's, known for its up-tempo play, its creativity. Sometimes you'll hear Keith Weiserick say that his squad is a bit more of the Wild West, while Chaminade is a bit more buttoned up, but not the Flyers this year, a team that can match the athleticism and team speed of its counterpart. 4 minutes to go. A touch here for Jake Bonomi, the talented attackman off to Michigan. The slide comes, and a terrific one at that. The ball is free thanks to Brendan McCabe coming over to double team Bonomi. Chaminade keeping some of its offensive players in the midfield to play defense, and here's their transition opportunity. Kavanaugh up top, and a blast rings the pipe. That hit hard off the iron by Michael Lynch. Numbers the other way, and a goal. Bobby McGee. Up and down action, favoring the Friars. O'Neal dumped it off to a streaking McGee. Inches away from a 4-1 start. Instead, the blast is off the pipe, and the Friars take advantage of transition the other way. O'Neal, such a willing passer, had a couple of cutters unmarked. Chaminade scoring the first 3 goals in the first 5 minutes. The Friars have answered back, and now this ground ball battle for the faceoff is 3-on-3. Possession has yet to be secured until Greg Campese rakes it out and begins the break. Here's O'Neal off a hop step, inside, and Entenmann the denial. St. Anthony's has won 2 faceoffs. Their first one led to a goal by the player who won it, Jake Naso. And then Campese, scooping up the ground ball for the win, nearly generated another tally, and it was a beautiful scoring chance by the #1 recruit in the class of 2020, Brennan O'Neal, who started his varsity career as an 8th grader at Bayshore, a starter at St. Anthony's since his 9th grade season. And this is D'Agostino off the face dodge, down the right alley against Corcoran. Here's O'Neal, who's so crafty with his stick. A physical specimen, winds and fires, and what a goal that was for the Duke-bound Brennan O'Neal to tie it up at 3. Limited in the first game with a goal and an assist in a matchup against Brendan McCabe. O'Neal getting the better of that interaction. Highlight reel stuff. Originally committing to Penn State as an 8th grader at just 13. Changing his commitment to play for Long Island native John Danowski down at Duke. Beautifully done by Sandoval to scoop it back to Meyer. The Flyers have won 5 of 7 draws. But Meyer in trouble, lost it. It's a battle at the sideline, out of bounds, sticking with the Flyers. Quick restart, subbing, and Kevin Pimental on the welcome mat, breaking the 3-all tie. Another goal scored by Chaminade off of a restart, and it didn't appear that anybody was really set off the whistle. Rogan just jogging in, Pimental the only one playing at game speed. And that ends the 3-goal run for St. Anthony's. That assist gives Tom Rogan 3 points in the first quarter. Ball on the left, Naso on the right. Back to the face-off X. 1:55 remaining in this AAA championship. A push against Ball. Third face-off win for the Friars. Aiden Denenza wants to move quickly off the restart. Last game for the Friars 8 days ago. 17-5, the win over St. John the Baptist. Keith Weiserick saying that at points we've been so busy throughout the season, we haven't had a lot of productive practice time. That was not the case over the last week. They were really able to spend time on the practice field, regroup, and get ready for this one-game playoff. Danny Parker knocks it down enough to slow the momentum to allow Rebooth to track it down near the end line. Here's O'Neal with the lefty cradle. Takes it back from Denenza. O'Neal spinning into a double, a feed in front, and a shooter gets decked as he fires it wide. It was Rebooth in tight. The sophomore took a hit to potentially make a play. Here's Andrew McAdory, the talented sophomore. McAdory fakes. Behind the cage. Extra pass, a look, and that rings off the pipe out of the cross of Denenza. Another one hits the iron as Brennan O'Neal steps down and blasts one from 15 yards away. Half minute to go in the first quarter. Extended possession here for the Friars. They are pelting Entenmann from all directions. Denenza gets a step into the teeth of the defense, and he gets stripped. Entenmann stepping on the end line on a poor feed from Tarici. And with 13 seconds even left on the clock, Rebooth will emerge from the corner. Bonomi dodging from X. Bonomi circles, and Entenmann smothers it. Another terrific save by the senior goalie for Chaminade as the final seconds are off the first quarter clock. Well, it's what we would expect from a matchup of this magnitude. Chaminade scores the first three. St. Anthony's answers back with three of its own. Flyers lead by one through the first quarter. On our Game of the Week, brought to you by HSS, the #1 hospital for orthopedics. With locations in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, the best is now nearby. Crowd continues to file in here at St. Anthony's for a rivalry matchup for a AAA title. Chaminade, though, to start the second quarter, leads by one. And taking a look at the recent AAA winners, it's been only Chaminade and St. Anthony's in this classification. Remember, last year these teams were in AA, so there was no AAA winner. And back in 2017, Chaminade won by forfeit because of an administrative error by St. Anthony's. So this is the first time since 2016 that the AAA championship has been decided on the field. Jack Moran has won 20 league titles. Before we start the second quarter, let's send it down to Amanda.
David, Coach Weiserick not thrilled with the first quarter and the way that his team played. Of course, he's happy that they showed some fight, but he's telling his guys, we are so much better than we played. On offense, he says we need to do a much better job of communicating, but we also need crisper passers. It has to be pass, quick passes. This defense is too good. We're not going to beat them going up the middle. We need to move the ball.
Keith Weiserick in his 20th season leading his alma mater, a graduate of St. Anthony's in 1986. He has won 9 titles in the previous 19 years. A win today, and he would have won half of the 20 titles that he would have been involved in. So he would have split 20 with Chaminade. Another face-off win for the Flyers, but struggling to hold possession, and they actually turn it over after winning the draw. You heard a moment ago from Amanda Puglisi. I'm David Resnick, our entire News 12 varsity crew here at St. Anthony's. Friars in the home whites, 14-1 on the season. Chaminade won their first 12 games of the year before dropping a non-league game against Del Barton this past weekend. Both coaches with different levels of certainty acknowledging that it's this matchup for the first time in a while that both teams are playing at an extremely elite level. Brendan O'Neill has the mismatch. A cut to the middle and Entenmann a denial. Booth was right on the crease and Liam Entenmann makes another fabulous stop. 16 saves in the first matchup back in April. That was the 4th game for Chaminade, just the 6th game for St. Anthony's, so it was early. Since then, the Friars have rattled off 9 in a row. And Jack Moran calling for time with his team a bit stuck just over midfield. So with 10:32 remaining in the first half, Jack Moran, now in his 41st season, has called for time. Entering tonight, 564 wins and no signs of slowing down. Perfect regular season league record, giving him his 27th regular season title. With the retirement of Mike Messier from West Genesee, he's now 1st active in New York State wins all time. 5th best mark, 4th best on Long Island, and it was at this time about a year ago that he had a little bit of a health scare. The doctors found it early. He's all fixed. He says that he's even down to his college weight. He looks great. He sounds great, walking 5 miles every day near his home at Avalon Park with his wife. Everything good about high school lacrosse, and Jack Moran once again has another terrific squad that took on all comers near and far, building a 12-1 regular season and in position to win the 3rd straight postseason title and 21st overall in his 41 years leading the Flyers. Took over in the 3rd year of the program, and their athletic department has not needed to look for a head coach in more than 4 decades. Back underway out of the Chaminade timeout. Easier for them to settle 6-on-6 out of the stoppage. Campisi in the passing lane. Interrupts and scoops it up. Transition for St. Anthony's. Entenmann says no. Bonomi, side-winding shot. And another big-time denial by Liam Entenmann. Backed up Andrew Bonafide a season ago, earned time in spots. Here's O'Neill, matched up against McBride. And O'Neill is stripped. This is the LSM Roy Meyer, the only returning starter on a defensive unit that has really gelled throughout the season. Finding James Corcoran. Corcoran has a step and another pipe. Live ball out of bounds, closest where and when to the Friars. It is a good thing that these goals were fortified prior to the game. That blast finds the back of the net. Aiden Denenza. Nobody picks up the ball. And he ties it at 4. First goal of the second quarter. Our second tie of the game. Chaminade retreating. Denenza takes the space. And you can see Entenmann wanting to know where his defense was in front. Will answer, non-existent. Back to the faceoff X. On the left, Jake Naso. On the right, it's Tyler Sandoval back out there. 3-on-3 battle, scooped up by Mike O'Connell off the wing. O'Connell stripped from behind, picks it back up, redirects it away from the cage. It's picked up by Chris Cavanaugh. O'Connell frees the hands and scores. Mike O'Connell sticking with the play and putting Chaminade back in front. Offenses have come to play. Kavanaugh had his defender hung up. O'Connell just sliding away from the defense. He started that whole sequence by scooping up the ground ball off the wing, and he's standing right next to Greg Campisi of St. Anthony's, ready to crash into the middle of the field. Naso and Sandoval once again. Violation against the Flyers. 7 face-offs won by Chaminade, just 4 of St. Anthony's. So they've controlled possession, leading by just 1. Under 9 minutes to play in the first half. Chaminade scored the game's first 3 goals. St. Anthony's answered with 3 straight of its own. We've alternated the last 3. Each team scoring in this second. Danny Parker down the right alley. Parker fires. There was traffic in front. Don't know if it got all the way to Entenmann, but I do know that Chaminade hustling to the sideline to take back the ball. The frames of these goals have gotten to work out here in the first half. A pop in midfield, but it's successfully to O'Connell. Rushing in, and that's Pazienza making a good stop. Fought it off, and it's picked up by Connor O'Reilly. Wanted Campisi, but it's taken back by the Flyers. Corcoran in traffic, and back and forth we go. Levy got bumped to the ball and dispossessed. Flag is down. Chaminade 0 for 1 on the extra man in the first quarter, and now it's St. Anthony's. That will be man up here. The hold against Tom Rogan. St. Anthony's 6-on-5. Get their first extra man. Rogan takes a knee. Don't be distracted by Amanda. Hidden ball trick. O'Neal never had it. McAdory held on to it, and Chaminade comes away with it. They take away the ball with the ability to kill off the rest of the man down. If they can hold on to possession. McCabe was a JV player a year ago, and tonight he's guarding Brennan O'Neal. Back to even strength. Rogan takes it on a hop. Rogan charging in. Tom Rogan scores. It's a first half hat trick, and Chaminade pushes the lead to 2. Rogan took the penalty, and as he was reinserted back into the game, right in the mix, beautiful split dodge. Bobby Kittleberger was shaken out of his boots. Tom Rogan makes up for his penalty by pushing the lead to 6-4. Face-off violation to Naso. Chaminade doubling up St. Anthony's in the face-off game. 8-4 the advantage. They won 57% in the regular season. They're at 67 right now. Here's Lynch, lefty rip. The backup by Kavanaugh behind the cage. One of 6 siblings is Kavanaugh, 5 boys in the family. 4 have gone to Chaminade. So Crafty inside as he dives tangent to the crease, and his shoulder was inside the circle. So that is a violation, and back to the Friars. A restart for them to glide across midfield and get a touch in the box in the form of Gordon. Unsung hero on this team is a short stick defensive midfielder, but was perfect in his execution there. As trailing by 2 with under 6 to play, Keith Weiserick will burn a timeout. Keith Weiserick had this great line in our talk earlier this week. He said, "We tip our cap to the great season that we had, and we restart and reset to play in this one-game playoff. And regardless of what happens over the next 2.5 quarters, when you think about what St. Anthony's has accomplished this season, 14-1, a top 10 team. They've beaten 3 other teams ranked in the Inside Lacrosse top 15. They've defeated teams from 8 other states. They play a national schedule. They take all comers. And they've had a terrific season. Their only loss this year to Chaminade, and they hosted a 6-team Geico showcase in which they came away with a couple of impressive victories. An event that Keith Weiserick hopes will continue. Chaminade potentially to participate in it next year. But what a year it's been for the Friars that has had a lot of young players the last couple years, mature, play together. We've seen a lot of them blossom this year, and potentially next year might even be an even more impressive campaign if that's possible. But listen, we know St. Anthony's year in, year out, always going to be one of the best teams on Long Island, but this is the type of season in which they are legitimately a top 5, top 10 team nationally. AP?
David, when we were talking to Coach Weiserick, he's telling us that now his team is different than when they played Chaminade earlier in the year because we're battle tested, and you were just talking about the schedule that they played. Teams like Yorktown, Loyola from Chicago, Darien. He says, we went on the road, we won some big games, we competed against some tough teams, and for him it was all about putting his team in these situations for them to fight through adversity. They came back with the win, so he said that should help them in today's game because he comes into this championship game saying the moment shouldn't be too big for our team because we really had some tough games this year.
Dory takes it, he's dispossessed, and that's really the point. Throughout the 15-game regular season, Chaminade has most likely seen every scenario they could see tonight. Denenza, now O'Neal pins the corner with some high heat. Brennan O'Neal. Low to high riser. He doesn't just score goals, he scores highlights. Aiden Denenza setting him up. Finding the upper right 90 for his second tally. We mentioned at the start how he was held to just a single goal and an assist in the regular season matchup in this first half, already with 2-1. And a major factor offensively for St. Anthony's, becoming the first player to score 2. 1-goal game, make it, take it for the Friars. Entenmann raises his stick to make another stop. That one was in tight and impressive. O'Connell racing the other way. Looking backside, taken there by James Ball. He'll retreat. It is a 1-goal game, and Liam Entenmann, the goalie for Chaminade, deserves a ton of credit for why Chaminade is still in front. approaching the 4-minute mark. John Davino passes on the crease. Could not connect with Rogan, but there's ball to track it down, part of the second midfield group. Kavanaugh spinning, matched up against Levy. Now it's Davino against the short stick. Davino with his hands free. And the second midfielder comes up with a big tally. And he races into the mosh pit to join the celebration of his teammates. Back to a 2-goal lead for Chaminade. And for the Flyers, it's been defense to offense. On one end, Rebooth gets absolutely stonewalled by Entenmann. And then on the other, John Davino frees his hands and scores. And for a player who's used to celebrating goals, perhaps from the sideline, he went immediately there to join his mates. St. Anthony, though, stems the momentum of Chaminade by winning a timely faceoff. Aiden Denenza draws the pull of Roy Meyer. Now it's Andrew McAdory, the sophomore, blowing by the short stick. Here's McAdory, missing wide. Terrific speed by the sophomore, who last year in his freshman year scored 45 points, becoming just the third player in the last 2 decades to play varsity as a freshman. Bonomi tries a one-handed shot, did not get it off cleanly, as Phil Arnold was all over his hands. 4-3 was the score at the end of the first quarter. Chaminade enjoying a 2-goal lead. Flag is thrown as Denenza gets taken down. Parker in this first midfield line out there. Now it's O'Neill. Spinning against McCabe, a 220-pound defender with a low center of gravity. Now it's McAdory. McAdory against Meyer. Meyer strips him. McCabe makes sure to keep possession. And we are reminded that this is a rivalry game. Entenmann comes all the way out of his crease to assess the situation. The short stick defensive midfielder, Sean Tarici, takes a 30-second penalty for a push with possession. Second EMO of the quarter for St. Anthony's, 0 for 1 to this point. And with 2:11 left, they have the 6-on-5 advantage for the next half minute. The possession begins in the cross of O'Neill, but for only a moment. Jack Walsh joins this man-up group for St. Anthony's. High crease, Denenza missing high over the crossbar. Terrific cut off ball to present a target, but couldn't knock it down. O'Neill with the penalty expiring. Pass along the perimeter, back to 6-on-6. Backside look, O'Neill wanted a cutting Bonomi. And it's to Chaminade. O'Neill not only creative in his dodging, but also his distributing as well. Try to thread it. Bonomi is protesting a call on the far side of the field. Most likely a 1-minute slash upcoming if the Flyers can retain. This is Kevin Pimental matched up against Jernigan.
1 minute remaining in the second quarter.
60 seconds to go. Flyers by 2. Their largest lead of the game was when they led 3-0, scoring the first 3 goals of the game in the opening 5 minutes. Corcoran, a converted attackman, inverts. Against Gordon, gets pushed. Is Chaminade tempted to hold? No. They're tempted to score. Riley Gray is heard from. A lefty rip on the run, and Riley Gray pushes the lead to 8-5. Riley Gray scored 4 times in the first matchup. Beats Campisi there, and a lot of traffic in front. Tough for Alex Pazienza to find it. This is a man-up face-off for Chaminade. Jake Bonomi gets called for the 1-minute slash. Chaminade has a timeout remaining. Both teams do. For a team that wins it, Jake Naso, huge face-off win. Racing in on the doorstep, Rebooth dumps it in. What a turn of events. St. Anthony's winning a man-down face-off and scoring on the other end. Rebooth has been denied on multiple occasions in tight against Entenmann. A patient move right on the doorstep. Chaminade still with the advantage, and they've put their wing play in a defensive posture to not allow Naso to leak out in front again. That is a hold against Sandoval. Terrific work by Naso. Back-to-back face-off wins with his team down a man. And now O'Neal goes to work with 10 seconds to go. O'Neal gets to the front and couldn't put it home. 7.5 on the restart. St. Anthony's still man down, holding possession here and letting the final seconds tick off the clock. Chaminade had a golden opportunity with 30 seconds left to put one more on the board. Instead, Jake Naso, some terrific play, and then Johnny Rebooth getting his first. We have reached halftime in the AAA Championship in our Game of the Week, brought to you by HSS, the #1 hospital for orthopedics with locations in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. The best is now nearby. Halftime here at St. Anthony's. Chaminade with the 8-6 lead over the Friars at halftime. And while we pause the lacrosse action, let's send it down to Amanda Puglisi.
David, we always talk about 3 sport athletes, but you know what we don't talk enough about? 2 sport athletes in the same season, and that is this week's Scholar Athlete.
As long as she can remember, Fieldston's Allie Astrakhan has been full of energy.
I like to be doing stuff, yeah, like all the time.
It's one of the reasons her parents had her try out lacrosse at a young age.
We just sort of heard about it through a friend, and they thought it would be a fun thing to try, just like a good way to get out and like run, get rid of my energy.
So far, it hasn't worked. Allie runs cross country in the fall, indoor track in the winter, and outdoor track in the spring. And she still plays lacrosse, going to practice for both sports in the same day. That means she's usually not home until after 8 p.m., doing homework until after 10.
Sometimes it definitely gets exhausting, but I really enjoy it, and I don't know, I feel like it ends up working out, which is good.
Heading to Amherst College next year, Allie has no plans on slowing down. Undecided on her major, she says she'll be using all of her free time to take as many different classes and join as many different clubs as possible to find out what she likes the most.
I'm sort of interested in architecture, so maybe something like that. And then also I took a neuroscience class this year and was really interested in that. So it's like very different. I have no idea if I'm gonna do either one of those, but I don't know. I just want to sort of figure it out and like see what happens when I get there.
All while she'll be playing on Amherst's lacrosse team. With our scholar athlete Greg Thompson, News 12, the Bronx.
As always, another impressive scholar athlete. Well, don't go anywhere because we have more championship lacrosse coming your way. But before that, David's going to have the highlights on the other side of this break. Chaminade leads St. Anthony's 8-6.
Back here at St. Anthony's, Chaminade with the 8-6 lead over St. Anthony's, and both teams averaging about 14 goals per game, and so no surprise that we saw a lot of good offensive action in the first half. Chaminade starting on a 3-goal run. Mike O'Connell opened up the scoring 3 minutes in. Tom Rogan, the first of his 3 first-half goals, makes it 2-0, and then Rogan goes back-to-back, fortuitous bounce. It's 3-0 Chaminade 5 minutes in. And these programs like to mirror each other. So how about a 3-goal run for St. Anthony's? Jake Naso off the face-off win scores. And then Bobby McGee, followed by Brennan O'Neill. Just so impressive with the low to high. 3-all at this point, 2:18 to go. And then Kevin Pimentel puts Chaminade in front 4-3. That would be our score entering the second quarter. Aiden Denenza comes right down Broadway to tie things up. O'Connell's got another goal there for a 5-4 lead. And then it would be back-to-back. Rogan scores again. That was his third. Liam Entenmann, the goalie for Chaminade, so impressive in the first half. Perhaps this was one of his most impressive looks. That we look in a moment, beg your pardon, as Brendan O'Neill makes it 6-5. And here is the impressive stop. Oh, Bonomi got denied. Bonomi gets denied, diving in. And then on the other end of that ensuing save, John Davino rips it home. Riley Gray heard from for the first time. 8-5 at that point. This was a man-down face-off win. Jake Naso to Johnny Rebooth cuts the deficit to just 2. St. Anthony's will be man down to start the third quarter, but the deficit is just 2 as they won the last 3 face-offs of the first half to even that category at 8 apiece. Still a perfect night here at St. Anthony's, so stay with us. I think it'll be a good choice in our HSS Game of the Week. Moments away from the start of the third quarter. Thanks for sticking with us. I'm David Resnick up in the booth, and down on the field, you know by now, is Amanda Puglisi.
David, as you would expect, both coaches have some adjustments to make at halftime, especially of a championship game. And Coach Jack Moran saying, we just gave up too many easy transitions there for St. Anthony's. And he says we just need to tighten up. We need to be a little bit smarter. If we take away the goals that St. Anthony's had on transitions, they don't have many. He also says we need to smarten up on the face-off. We can't just assume that we're going to win every face-off and get a little bit lazy on the wings. So that's another thing that Chaminade is looking to tighten up on. And for Keith Weiserick, he says he felt like his team started a little bit out of sync, but he likes the way that they fought back. Again, fighting through adversity, that seems to be a theme for St. Anthony's. He says we just need to clean up our defense just a little bit. But again, he's feeling positive with the way his Friars finished that first half.
And good reason, the way they came back from adversity. As mentioned, they were in a moment there, down 8-5, man down face-off. Chaminade with a timeout in its pocket. Flyers win it cleanly there. You call timeout, you set up a play. Maybe you're staring at a 4-goal deficit at the break. Instead, Naso wins a face-off. Rebooth dumps it in. It's a 2-goal game. And then Naso wins another face-off. And possession to the Friars to open up this third quarter man down. And so they just get to hold on to the ball with Jake Bonomi still serving a penalty to open up the third quarter. So if St. Anthony's emerges in this game, that sequence, those 30 seconds, we might be looking back on it and saying that that was the key to the game in terms of the Friars stabilizing the deficit and not allowing to fall behind by even a larger sum. So with all of that diagnosis, the third quarter is underway. St. Anthony's will allow the final ticks of this 1-minute slash against Jake Bonomi to run out before the senior bound for Michigan is released from the penalty box and joins the 6-on-6 offense. So if you have one final thing to do before really engaging in this contest, now's the time to do it. But you're running out of time. Okay, back to lacrosse. Bonomi rejoins the offense. Penalty has expired. We are 6-on-6 in a 2-goal game. Brendan O'Neill starts his dodge from near midfield. Brendan O'Neill goes high, and Entenmann gobbles it up. Brendan O'Neill did not change levels, and that was a relatively easy stop for Entenmann compared to what he's denied already tonight. Shoveled forward. Pimental there for Chaminade. Alex Pazienza comes out of his crease. Dangerous situation, and Chaminade takes advantage. Danny Schaefer, unlikely goal, and a big one at that for the Flyers. What a mad scramble there. Danny Schaefer with the big goal. It was Pimental that scooped it up and located Schaefer. Back to a 3-goal game. The advantage for Chaminade for the third time today. Face-off win for St. Anthony's. They're now ahead in that category. Keith Weiserick wanted 40%. Well, now he's better than 50. Big performance by Jake Naso. He's now won 4 in a row. This is McAdory to Bonomi. It's a different matchup here for Chaminade defensively, as McBride has to chase the speedy Bonomi, who typically plays behind the cage but has attacked in this sequence from the top of the box. Now it's Aiden Denenza working there against Roy Meyer. He's hemmed off. Advantage here for O'Neill against the short stick. Off the face dodge, spins. Defender is there. Phil Arnold steps up, and Chaminade supporters can applaud the effort until McAdory comes down the right alley and pumps one in. Andrew McAdory is heard for the first time tonight. And these offenses with just too much skill. Too much skill, too much talent, too much speed. In fact, these defenses for both teams are the raw, more green groups. And so a combined 16 goals on the board. St. Anthony's has now won 5 straight face-offs. It's a 10-8 advantage at the dot, and yet Chaminade still leads. Here's Jake Bonomi using a screen. Bonomi fires on cage, and Entenmann says no. Liam Entenmann has been a tremendous stopper tonight as Myers runs the other way. Roy Meyer, I beg your pardon, look in front. Pazienza, big stop. He denies Terici a look on the crease, and a violation against the Flyers. nearly had another short stick defensive midfielder score for Chaminade. We said one of the keys for St. Anthony's was identifying perhaps a secondary or tertiary player to step up in an unlikely fashion. I think so far today you can say that Chaminade has gotten the tallies from unlikely sources, a second line midfielder, a defensive midfielder. Part of the reason why the Flyers enjoy a 2-goal advantage 4 minutes in to the second half. Here's Danny Parker. Above goal line extended. Danny Parker wanted Bonomi. Bonomi got handcuffed, and the Flyers emerge with possession. Meyer in trouble. And now it's Rogan getting a touch in the box. Tremendous job defensively by Chaminade. And then working hard to get to the offensive end. Cavanaugh on the touch to Rogan. Takes the return feed, is out there with Pimental on the attack line. Second midfield group, here's Mike O'Connell, a couple of tallies in the first half. Spins on Parker, dumps it to Cavanaugh. Bit of a jitterbug. Cavanaugh up top, and Corcoran pulls it out. 5 minutes deep, second half. A goal each way in this third quarter. Beg your pardon earlier, this is John Davino, 6, not 8. A goal earlier, and he bounces that one wide. Back when I first started covering this rivalry, I could see the numbers no problem. That's Pazienza hugging the post and making a terrific stop. A couple of big saves in this third quarter. And it's Rogan that comes sweeping in for the ground ball pickup. Chaminade has been a bit better so far in the 50-50 contests. O'Connell down the left alley, runs into a wall of Parker. And the loose ball is picked up by Greg Campisi. Transition the other way for St. Anthony's. Rebooth peels away, and now it's Bonomi from up top. That's been a clear adjustment by St. Anthony's in the second half. To have Bonomi, who moved up from the midfield a season ago, attack more from the top of the box. Denenza runs into Bonomi. And now things are settled midway through the quarter. Denenza down the right alley. Picked up there by McCabe. Denenza inverts. Tosses near side for Bonomi. McAdory sets the screen. And here's Brennan O'Neill working against Meyer. Picked up by Arnold, and O'Neill rips one home. It's a hat trick for Brennan O'Neill. Brennan O'Neill, impressive. We suggested that perhaps he needed to elevate his game, and how about that rising shot? Has loved that top right corner as he stings it past Entenmann for his third goal of the game. He's got a 4-point evening in the AAA championship. Flag is thrown, ball on the sideline. It's a hold against Meyer. Now 6 straight for St. Anthony's at the dot. Friars 0 on the extra man. 6 on 5 for 30 seconds. McAdory walks it in. O'Neill has the last tally, 34 in white. Hidden ball trip. McAdory still has it. Skip pass. O'Neal, step down. Is that through the net? The official is looking in the corner. Brennan O'Neal rips it right through the netting. Talk about power. We are tied at 9. Extra man goal for the Friars. There's the evidence. What a job by our crew. He has loved that top right corner, and he stings it again. Step down. O'Neal eyes the target, and no doubt about it. Second 3-goal streak of the game for St. Anthony's. The officials will take a stoppage just to make sure to tighten that netting and address the hole that either existed or Brennan O'Neal helped create. You know, officials typically wear multiple hats, and now they have to act as a bit of a maintenance crew here to help solve the issue as Brennan O'Neal scores his 4th. And we expected some offense. If we take a look at the recent history between these teams, there has been some high-scoring games. If you want to win this contest, you at least need to be in double figures. No score for the 2017 contest listed because that was the championship forfeit. Last win for St. Anthony's in this rivalry as they've dropped 3 straight was the regular season matchup here in South Huntington. We talked with Keith Weiserick about the venue. Regular season, Chaminade typically hosts first, so they had the regular season game, and there was some talk of a potential neutral site for this championship game because this is not a return home and home. This is essentially a AAA championship game that ideally would be played in a neutral setting. But considering the options, Jack Moran and Keith Weiserick believe that this was the best spot for it. And when you consider the atmosphere and how packed the stands are, I think we could agree with the head coaches with 61 years of experience, not that I ever doubted their opinion, that they were, of course, right on the money in terms of playing this game here at a home site. So just for good measure, because Brennan O'Neal will eventually be shooting on that goal in the 4th quarter, the officials make sure that the netting is secured on both ends. James Ball will try his luck against Jake Naso, who has now won 6 straight faceoffs. Naso had it momentarily. Nobody has secured possession. Meyer did, but then he lost it. So it's a face-off win by Chaminade, but St. Anthony's emerges with possession. Two flags are down. Friars have possession, so it's coming against Chaminade. Momentum to the Friars in a tie game. Chaminade has not led. They won't here as Entenmann meets it high. Denenza, and the first lead for the Friars. Jack Walsh turns and lets it fly. First time the Friars have been in front. Denenza with the big ground ball pickup, the find to Walsh. It's now 4 in a row for the Friars. Prior to the last faceoff, St. Anthony's had won 7 straight. Just want to correct that. A moment ago said 6. It was a run of 7 in a row. And even though they lost the last faceoff, they emerged with possession from the 3-on-3 battle. That is a procedural call against Sandoval. Another win for the Friars. The advantage overall, 12-9 in St. Anthony's ledger. Kevin Pimental is down on a knee. Chaminade was facing off man down. From the angle, a big wind and fire for Jake Bonomi, and Entenmann quickly off of his line to earn the backup. There was a lot of velocity on that shot, so the quick twitching Entenmann just reaching his stick out. The closest one where and when to the angle it went out of play. Entenmann well out of his crease. He's stripped and now has to run all the way back. Unsettled. O'Neal lets it rip and missed the target. High risk for O'Neal. Wanted it all with Entenmann racing back the other way. Riley Gray runs right through the resistance. Chaminade still a man down. I beg your pardon, it is even. Penalty had expired through that transaction. It is 6-on-6. Approaching the 2-minute mark of the third quarter. Chaminade has not scored in over 8 minutes, and their offense has stalled, partly because their face-off game has gone quiet. Riley Gray has scored big goals all season. Tied at 10. The senior Riley Gray on the right alley dodge for the score. Gray has his second through the screen and by Campisi. The slide for Jernigan came late in front, and Riley Gray knots the score at 10. Fourth tie of the game. The first lead for St. Anthony's was short-lived. Meyer on top of it. Had it in his cross. Was stripped away. Possession to Chaminade. Shifty by Arnold. Huge sequence for the Flyers, and O'Connell. Mike O'Connell takes advantage of the unsettled situation. And the Flyers have reclaimed the lead, 11-10. Exactly what you would expect a championship game between these two rivals to be. These offenses borderline unstoppable as O'Connell, the athletic midfielder, runs all the way to the crease to score. 2 goals in 21 seconds. Amazing the impact of the face-off game, huh? Chaminade won the last one, results in a goal. Tyler Sandoval sneaks it out the front, using his wing to perfection in Brandon Lau. And the Flyers have a chance to play make it, take it. The swings in this game. But after all, it's Chaminade St. Anthony's. And not to offend the Suffolk hosts, it's what you would expect from St. Anthony's Chaminade. 70 seconds to go, third quarter. second midfield line out there. This is James Ball. Trying to get to his spot. Ball fires, working back to his left side. And just like that, Chaminade has scored 3 straight. For a team that has been so great with the ball movement and teamwork, this is 3 goals in a minute 6, all unassisted. So 4 goals by St. Anthony's, answered with 3 from Chaminade, the most recent by Ball. That one popped out. Meyer, the first one there. Still loose as it hits the restraining line. Everybody can dive in. Who wants it? Teams talk all the time about ground balls, 50-50 balls. It's out of bounds off of the cross of Meyer. Possession to the Friars. O'Neal wants one more, and that's high. Final 10 seconds. Walsh's shot is blocked down. Rebooth on it with 5. Rebooth with just a couple seconds to go. Out, Denenza. That shot deflected on the way to the cage. And we enter the 4th quarter with Chaminade finishing the 3rd in a strong fashion. 12-10 Flyers with 12 minutes to go on the HSS Game of the Week. The #1 hospital for orthopedics with locations in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. The best is now nearby. It's a sprint to the finish, and Chaminade begins this 12-minute race. 2 goals in front. 8 total goals scored in that 3rd, 4 aside. 12-10 Chaminade over St. Anthony's to begin the 4th quarter. The Flyers looking for their 3rd straight league title. And between the quarter, Amanda Puglisi listened in on the Friars huddle.
David, one of the things that Coach Weiser really wanted to draw attention to for his team on defense was watching the picks. He says, if you're not going to fight through it, you need to at least slow them down. Talking about Riley Gray coming around those picks, he says you have to get a body in front of him, slow him down, get a hand in his face. He said that was something that really we struggled with in the 3rd quarter. We need to do a better job of that in the 4th.
These 2 teams, as talented as they have been at the same time in recent memory, and they have gifted us a wonderful AAA championship game to this point. A look at Riley Gray, who Keith Weiserick mentioned in his huddle. Scored the first of those 3 straight for the Flyers to take a 10-9 deficit into a 12-10 lead. Jake Naso on the left, Tyler Sandoval on the right, and the first possession to the Friars. 14-11, the face-off advantage to St. Anthony's. If I told you that before the game, you would tend to lead to the Friars having the overall advantage. The one thing that has counteracted that is the Liam Entenmann play between the pipes for Chaminade. He has been stellar in his final varsity game. So Chaminade spotted a couple of goals. Here's O'Neal, goes behind the back. Brennan O'Neal, a walking highlight reel. There's goals, and then there's this for number 5. Bonomi spots his line mate, and that is a ferocious over-the-shoulder shot. on one of the biggest stages Long Island lacrosse has to offer. Brennan O'Neill has performed like the #1 rated recruit in the junior class as determined by Inside Lacrosse. He's gotten help, that's for sure, especially the face-off X from Jake Naso, who wins another face-off thanks to the push. But O'Neill has looked as good as advertised. He has scored 5 of his team's 11. Possession here with a chance to knot it up. We've already had 4 ties, the last one at 10 apiece. And we're just underway in the 4th. Hayden Denenza down the right alley. He looks to Danny Parker. Good to see him have a fully healthy season after his junior year was derailed by injury. Jake Bonomi working against a short stick. Sean Tarici does a nice job of pushing back. Bonomi tacking from up top. That's a second half adjustment. Entenmann sprawling out to make the stop. Stick side low, and Liam Entenmann was up to task. Chaminade in transition, pushing unsettled. To Kevin Cutton behind the net. He works there with Kevin Pimental and Tom Rogan. Coming around the crease, that might have hit a far side post, and Campisi vacuums it up. Greg Campisi up ahead to O'Neill. O'Neill charging in, denied! That hit iron, and then Entenmann with the effort there. Full head of steam, O'Neill charging in, and Entenmann stood his ground. Let's see. I think Entenmann got a piece and directed it into the pipe. What a big time exchange. O'Neill bearing down on the goal in a 1-goal game. I think we're going to have a few more exciting moments down the stretch here with 9+ to play. Top 10 teams nationally, both with just 1 regular season loss against a national schedule. Battle tested is an understatement. Andrew McAdory, double teamed, races out of it. Here's O'Neill. O'Neill, incredible! Wrapped it around McCabe, and again finds the top right corner. We are tied at 12, and O'Neill has half of the Friars' goals. He used McCabe as a screen and just wrapped it around. Somewhere, a member of the Duke coaching staff is watching and smiling. 5th tie, big face-off victory for Chaminade. Let's face it, at this point, all of them are important. Will do my best not to point it out. Left alley dodge, Alex Pazienza, a big save. Greg Campisi once again handles the transition game in a solo act. Brennan O'Neill has been spectacular. 1 in the first, 1 in the second, a pair in the third, and back-to-back tallies here at the 4th to tie it up at 12, and 34 in white has it in his cross. Parker looking to give it back, as Brendan McCabe shadows the lethal attackman for St. Anthony's. St. Anthony's has led only once today for under 2 minutes. That shot for Bonomi is knocked down prior to the crease, and it's picked up by Meyer. He's got D'Agostino on his hip and fighting through it to get across midfield. Chaminade trying to strike quickly. Kavanaugh, change of direction. Chris Kavanaugh, watched there by Anthony Levy. Under 7 minutes to play in a tie game. AAA championship on the line. And they are the only 2 AAA teams in Long Island, the New York City League, and Buffalo. This is it. This is the only playoff game that they will play for the local, intersectional, and state title. Rogan tiptoeing the crease. Sharp angle. That's off the side of the frame by O'Connell. Does not get all the way out of bounds as O'Reilly tracks it down. And a whistle there against St. Anthony's. Flag was down, must have been from the initial surge over midfield where the Friars were offside.
Number 2, offside, 30 seconds.
30-second technical. Chaminade 0 for 2 on the EMO. 6-on-5 here in a 12-all game. They played a month ago in Mineola. 13-7 was the final score. Chaminade had 9 different players with the point. They had a 9-3 advantage in the second and fourth quarters. Can they close once again today? They've gotten the balance. But can they execute? Kavanaugh. Skipped. Penalty released. Back to 6-on-6. Chaminade did not get a shot off. Gray down the left alley. Gray misses the target as he bounces one right. Chris Kavanaugh in position, corners it, and restarts it. .5:25 to go in this fourth quarter. Chaminade entered with a 2-goal lead. Jernigan was called for a hold. The ball was loose, so just possession to Rogan and Chaminade. Rogan will take the defender behind the cage. Rogan had 3 in the first half, has not scored since the break. This is Michael Lynch. Good defense by William Gordon, the short stick. Extended possession here for the Chaminade Flyers with just a single shot. First midfield line out there, pick set by Lynch. This is Corcoran spinning into the double team with the lefty cradle. Down to 4:30 to go. This is Gray through the screen. Gray still has it. To Pimental for the goal. Kevin Pimental wearing the famed 19 for Chaminade. Puts the Flyers up by 1. First goal of the fourth quarter here for Chaminade. Kevin Pimental fills the void created by the sliding defense, giving attention to Riley Gray dodging down the right, wearing the number in honor of Jimmy Regan, part of the 12 victories in the regular season for Chaminade. A Reeves Rock win over Manhasset in their annual game. Tyler Sandoval battling, but it's picked up by Andrew McAdory. Racing in, it gets to O'Neal, and he rolls one in. Brennan O'Neill went far post on the ground for his 7th. He has been a top right corner monster, and this time with the sharp angle goes low left. Brennan O'Neill with 7, including a hat trick in the 4th quarter alone. Sixth tie. Out the front door, Sandoval, but it's picked up by McAdory. Or excuse me, by Danny Parker, who's in off the wing. On the cutter behind the back. What a connection! And Jake Bonomi pots it home. Face-offs leading to goals. And St. Anthony's has answered with 2 in a row to retake the lead. What a connection and what a behind the back finish. So a 14-13 lead for St. Anthony's and another second half lead change. Jake Naso and that face-off unit for St. Anthony's better than 50%. They would have been happy with 40 and they've eclipsed that mark. And they win one more time. Greg Campese to Naso. And now you can play the clock game with the 1-goal lead. St. Anthony's has outscored Chaminade 4-1 in this 4th. With better than 3 minutes to go, they will still need to attack. But they could definitely use the clock in this situation to its advantage. Last title for St. Anthony's, 2016. Did not field a team in 2017 in the title game because of an administrative error. Last year in the AA, losing both the Long Island and intersectional final to Chaminade. 2 losses 9 days apart at Mitchell Field. 250 away from reclaiming the AAA crown. Let's watch the officials to see when they feel inclined to give the Friars the stall warning. Approaching a 2-minute possession. McAdory outside the box, dodging down the left. On the crease, Booth took his eye off of it, and the loose ball is picked up by Entenmann. Chaminade with 2 timeouts left as they look to clear. Terrici running through the check of O'Neill. Successfully to the offensive end as Chaminade subs. Getting this first midfield line on the field. Down by a goal with under 2 to play. Here's Gray against Campese. Gray down the right alley. Gray fires! Side of the net. Picked up by Alex Pazienza, the goalie, who is harassed. A strong ride by Chaminade, jars it free. It's picked up by the Flyers. Pimentel Moran is working the officials, wanting a timeout. Kavanaugh emerges with possession, and the Flyers have it with just a hair over a minute to play. Frantic moments as Gray hit the side of the net, and a mad scramble for the loose ball results in the Chaminade timeout. Jack Moran shuffling between offensive and defensive huddles. So Tom Rogan with 3 goals. Mike O'Connell with 3. Riley Gray has a pair. Kevin Pimental has scored twice. There's been such great balance across the board offensively for Chaminade. It's hard to single out a particular player you would want to be featured in this possession, trailing by 1. Their undefeated season was snapped on Saturday against Del Barden. And now they are in a position where they need a goal to draw even with St. Anthony's. Gray bounces one wide. Rogan in position for the backup. A minute to go in the AAA final. Rogan spinning. Rogan with one hand. It was knocked down. Alex Pazienda out of his crease and just chucks it down the field. Caught by Bonomi. Jake Bonomi racing in high. And it's backed up by O'Neill. Rebooth was there as well as Bonomi pulled the trigger with 40 seconds to go. Chaminade calls timeout to set up the defense as they need to create a turnover to get the ball back in the deficit. So St. Anthony's just 40 ticks away. They returned 12 of the 13 goals that they scored in the Long Island AA final last year. And behind the foundation set by juniors and seniors who have been 2- and 3-year players, St. Anthony's went 14-1 in the regular season, at one point climbed to as high as 3 in the country. That one blemish in April against Chaminade. And 9 straight victories leading into this title game at a venue in which they've been perfect in 9 tries. And Keith Weiserick entered this championship game waiting for his team to play a full 48 minutes. They need to just play a solid 41 seconds. With the ball, offensive end, and the 1-goal lead. Friars played a national schedule, a tough schedule. Already with 3 victories against top 15 teams in the country. Today would be their 4th and their sweetest as they look to reclaim the league title for the first time since 2016. On the restart, McAdory, double teamed. Entenmann out of his crease. A whole pile up and a whistle with St. Anthony's calling timeout. Friars had both at their disposal, and they used one there. About 9 seconds came off the clock, and so 32 to kill to a title. ...20 seasons for Keith Weiserick. his 19th final. 18 of them coming against Chaminade. 9 titles in the previous 19 years for St. Anthony's. For Chaminade, 20 titles in 40 previous seasons for Jack Moran. Can they get 21 here today? If they can, it would be a really impressive final 32 seconds. Remember, the game-winning goal last year in the Long Island AA final came with just seconds remaining. Brennan O'Neill, 34 in white. 3 goals in the fourth. 5 in the second half, 7 total. And he earns the distinction of restarting play with 32 seconds to go. Once again, Entenmann has vacated the crease to double the ball. O'Neill has been the horse all game today, and he's looking to close it out. Now it's McAdory retreating away with 20 seconds. McAdory near the end line, using his speed. McAdory stripped. Loose ball behind the cage, picked up by Parker. 8 ticks to go. Danny Parker running into open space with 3. Throws the ball up, and St. Anthony's is champions. 14-13 the final. The Friars have won the AAA. A come-from-behind effort in the fourth. A 4-1 quarter sparked by the hat trick from Brennan O'Neill. Taking the lead with 4:03 remaining in the contest with that incredible behind-the-back tally by Jake Bonomi, and holding off the Flyers for the final 4:03 for the CHSAA AAA title. Top 10 teams ranked nationally. St. Anthony's with 10 straight wins to cap off the season. They conclude the year 15-1. What an effort by Jake Naso. His coach would have taken 40% at the dot. Naso did that and more, completely changing the complexion of the game when he got hot and on a run. 14-13 the final. Back in a moment to wrap things up in our Game of the Week, brought to you by HSS, the #1 hospital for orthopedics with locations in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. The best is now nearby. Another classic in the rivalry known as Chaminade and St. Anthony's. The Friars today on top. 14-13 the final. Brennan O'Neill was held to just a goal and an assist in the regular season matchup. He had just 1 assist tonight, but delivered 7 goals, including 3 in the fourth quarter, 5 in the second half, and each goal taken individually was a highlight. These two programs with such great respect. It starts right at the top with their head coaches, Keith Weiserick, Jack Moran. Be tougher to find 2 classier individuals and 2 coaches that have created better programs. Alex Pazienza, the winning goalie, really stepped up his game in the second half, making some incredible saves to match the performance by Liam Entenmann. And so Alex Pazienza, who became the first sophomore to start the majority of the games under Keith Weiserick between the pipes, can now say that as a junior, he is a champion. Such heartbreak last year for these Friars. And in some ways, Keith Weiserick believes they're ahead of schedule since they return. Still so much talent and a big embrace from Morand and Weiserick. It's the tough dynamic of being in this league with only 2 teams that play at the AAA in the entire state. You build such an incredible resume, an incredible season, and yet it all comes down to one game. And that's what they remember, and that's what they memorialize with trophies and plaques and championship banners. As Chaminade walks off the field at 12-2 on the year, they had an incredible season. Just not the season that they hoped for when they opened up preseason back in March. Both teams huddling up here just prior to a trophy presentation. In the celebration, it appears that Greg Campese cramping up as players were shaking hands. Campese was earning the attention of the athletic trainer, and thinking back to the fall and that tough loss for Campese and the football team and Richie Reichert's final game as the St. Anthony's head coach. Losing a game in the rain to Cardinal Hayes. Campese, the starting quarterback that day. Today, capping off his high school lacrosse career. And speaking of Reichert, that's the gentleman in the yellow. Campese can leave Cy Donnelly Field as a winner, at least in terms of the one-loss column. Of course, he's been such a prolific winner throughout his high school career before heading off to Harvard. Perhaps football still potentially in his future, but at the very least, playing lacrosse for the Crimson. Captains for Chaminade, a group of seniors that should be proud of their efforts, accepting a number of runner-up plaques. As mentioned, as the only AAA schools, this one game representing the Nassau-Suffolk game, an intersectional game, a state game. So there is quite a bit of hardware to hand out for a playoff bracket that is composed of just a single contest. You know, reflecting on our coverage throughout this lacrosse campaign, we got to see a lot of close contests, a lot of one-goal games, starting all the way back with Garden City and Smithtown West, and it concludes with another one-goal game, 14-13 St. Anthony's in regular time. And now it's the seniors and the captains for the Friars to emerge. Jake Bonomi, Greg Campese, Connor O'Reilly. They'll take a picture as a trio, and then I'm sure these Friars know how to celebrate when the plaques are brought to the pile. In case you were wondering how many Friars are on the roster, each one of them being announced at the stadium. It's a squad that played a national schedule, that went all over the East Coast to take on all comers. And they get to avenge in the most important game their only loss of the season. Victories over teams from 8 different states. And now they could also say that one of their 15 victories is over their arch rival, bringing them back to the top of the mountain, reclaiming their throne in the AAA. And for Chaminade, they will say goodbye to such seniors such as Kevin Pimentel, Tom Rogan, Tyler Sandoval, 2 members of the first midfield group with Riley Gray and James Corcoran, short stick defensive midfielders, and Phil Arnold, a captain, and their goalie Liam Enteman. We are hanging around for this trophy presentation so that we could sneak in a word with Brennan O'Neill, who deserves a moment to reflect on his performance and his 7 goals in this title game accounting for half of the output for the Friars. There were 6 ties in this game, 4 of them after halftime. We were deadlocked at 9, at 10, at 12, at 13. Chaminade had a possession with a couple of minutes to go, and we would not see tie number 7 as Brennan O'Neill earning his individual plaque, and we send it down to AP.
All right, so Brennan, the championship game played here at St. Anthony's. How special is it for you to win here in front of your fans?
I mean, it means the world to me. I mean, we got a good turnout, and this is a game I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. I'm going to be talking about this.
So Chaminade limited you in the first game of the regular season. Today was a completely different story. 7 goals, you ripped a hole through the net. What was the key for you today?
I mean, my teammates were creating, and I was open a lot, and they were sliding off me, and my shot was on today. Last game, I missed a couple shots. I wanted to get back, and I remember that since then, and I came back firing.
Coach Weiserick said if you guys win 40% of the faceoffs, you'll be in a good spot. I'm not really great with math. We might have to get Greg Campese here to help us, but Jake Naso won 18 faceoffs. How huge was that for you guys?
I mean, possessions are everything. Every possession he got, you can tell that our confidence went up. And when he started winning towards the second quarter, end of the second, start of the third, we started. We really thought we can do this, and we knew we were in this.
All right, I know you want to celebrate with your teammates. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, David, back up to you.
A performance for the ages. He already ripped a hole in 1 net. They should probably go cut it up and keep it as a souvenir for this championship victory, 14-13 over Chaminade. Well, the AAA championship is always a game to look forward to because of this rivalry, because of these programs. And no surprise that St. Anthony's and Chaminade did not disappoint. Thanks for joining us tonight and throughout the season as part of our lacrosse coverage on News 12 Varsity. Want to give a special thanks to our wonderful crew, including our producer and leader, Brian Butler. For Amanda Puglisi, I'm David Resnick. What a show Chaminade and St. Anthony's put on here in South Huntington. There could only be one winner. And tonight it was St. Anthony's reclaiming the throne in the AAA. A thrilling 1-goal victory over Chaminade in our hospital for special surgery game of the week here on News 12 Varsity.